Awesome. Welcome to a Monday Night Live. I'm so excited for this conversation. Just getting all the streaming devices. How are you tonight, my dear Sherry?
I am good. How are you? Let
I
me
am
make
good.
sure I am live on Instagram. There we go. I think
Awesome.
we're streaming to Instagrams, Facebook pages. Oh, go down the list here. Hold on. YouTube, Rumble. What else? What am I missing?
Facebook, YouTube, Instagrams, Twitch, Rumble. We will end up and also be going live to the podcast of Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. So definitely subscribe, give us comments. Uh, Everything counts, and we'd love to hear your feedback.
Absolutely. And
So
if
I like your shirt, Becky.
I know what our fancy attire for our Monday night lives, right?
Yeah.
We end up and have our black shirts for Monday night lives, but we also end up and have other swag within the BNC page. So I'll grab a link for that because we do end up and have shirts. They have a QR code on the back of them. It also says your tribe awaits, but we do end up and have shirts. We'll have a couple different ones. I have a new one that will have the Beyond Nutrition logo, so this logo on them, as well as the ones that have this type of a front. But we'll end up and have those shirts. They're currently on the Beyond Nutrition webpage, but I'll grab a link for that.
Awesome. So hope you had a good weekend. You and I've been doing a lot of talking lately, kind of on our topic that for tonight.
Yes, ma'am. I'm excited for the topic, right? Because there's so much. I'm grabbing that link for the shirts, but there is so much in regards to the conversation going around. Biohacking, pills, potions, supplements, etc. Right?
Right.
We see the magic drinks popping up all over, and there's just a lot to our journey and what we teach within the community that does not involve
Right.
that thing, right? But we felt it did need a broader discussion. It wasn't just no, nope, don't need, don't, we felt like it needed a deeper conversation.
Yeah. Well, because like you said, if people out here are watching us, yes, we have social media, um but we also follow other influencers and other people within the space, and it just feels like more and more and more they're pushing supplements, pills, potions, drinks, um and to a lot of degrees, I'm starting to find it alarming, for lack of a
Yeah.
better word.
Yeah, absolutely. And more so because what happens when you stop taking those drinks? What happens when you stop taking those supplements and you haven't laid the foundation, right?
Right.
That's one of the things where, we created our logo on the foundational aspects, right? When you end up and you get your sunlight down, you optimize your circadian rhythm, but also along with that goes sleep, right? You've got to work on those circadian hormones of, cortisol and leptin and melatonin and ultimately your insulin, if we can end up and also balance your insulin. And part of that does incorporate the parasympathetic side, right? The breath
Right.
work, the tapping, those type of things, essential oils, aromatherapy incorporated in there. And then also our bodies are charged on minerals and electrons. So the minerals are like the little transporters, right? But going outside and getting simply just grounding, being able to get something that is free, right? Not $400 or $500 a month on products that, I can't tell you the stories that I've heard of people taking products and they feel like crap, right? They end up
Yeah.
are sick, they're nauseous, they end up curled up in bed or worse. I'll just
Right.
pause that there,
Right.
because there has been worse stories of people doing supplements and detox and pills and potions and stuff that feel a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you and I both come from a place of, just like medication, supplements, they all have their time and place. I'm not anti medication. I'm not anti supplements. Um, but you have to know what you're doing. You
Hmm.
can't just take somebody on social media that says, "Hey, you know, hey, if you're a diabetic, take this." Um, you have to know what you're doing, how much dosing you're doing, and what it does to the liver. I mean, we all know that medications, everything goes through the liver, right? That's your filter, and the kidneys. And well, the supplements are still doing that too. Not to mention, people aren't even checking the ingredients.
Hmm. Well, and how much of the chemicals that are going into that are synthetic chemicals?
Hmm. Exactly. Um, I had posted, and I don't think I have it anymore, but I had found, oh, I know what it was. It was some vitamin D that I actually took from my parents' house, because I knew it wasn't good. Threw it in my suitcase, flew home with it. It ended up in my um, supplements area. And when I was cleaning all the supplements out that I just recently moved, and I can't tell you the amount of supplements I ended up throwing out. It was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars that I literally dumped. Um, because when I first started in this space, I listened to those that, oh, you need to take this supplement, and oh, you need to take this supplement. And without question, I would go on to the little website. I would order whatever for how many, 60, 70, 80, $100. And then I was taking it constantly. So I was trying to replace the medicines and with the supplements without working on the foundation,
Hmm.
which,
And that's where, if many people are able to give it, a consistent effort, right, in regards
yeah.
of getting this foundation. I'm not against supplements.
Mm-mm.
Um I'm watching people over on my Instagram, which, yeah, there are snake oils in the world, right? Whether pill potions, snake oils, whatever you want to end up and say. And it one of them says, to find a high quality supplement. Um, so the full thing is snake oil is out there, but it is not hard to find high quality supplements. But for some people, it is because of their
Right.
budget. If you end up and you
Yes.
look at someone's budget, to find that high quality supplement is a struggle. Most of the people are not going to be someone that is searching out these high quality, supplements. Yes, I've got over my shoulder. It's like backwards in my computer, right? I've got upgrade formulas. I've got potassium and stuff. So I've used different supplements. I've got MK supplements sitting here, on my desk. I'm not against supplements and quality supplements. But again, yes, the cost, the cost, the cost. And if someone can optimize their nutrition, we just got through having Marty Kindle on last week. speaking about, nutrition and food and
Hmm.
variety, right? But then again, you get into also these someone else's I'm anti-supplement. You get into these camps where yes, I see your question and we'll get there. Um so you get into these dietary camps where this is going to kill you, that's going to kill you, but you need this, but you need that, but oh, there's this, but there's, and
Yeah.
it's a whirlwind. There's so many different perspectives in those dietary camps, right?
Right.
That someone that lives, closer to the equator that is doing one type versus someone that is living in Western United States is doing another versus someone that's living in Eastern versus us in the Midwest. I mean, you are further south in the Midwest than someone like myself that eats a little bit different, right?
Right.
Metabolically, people are different. That is where some people, when they start, they need supplement. They may need some help with the digestive system. Then you have, other influencers out there that are speaking in regards of fermented foods and making sure that you're getting, these different like micro doses of fermented foods, different blah, 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 in at every meal. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's where kind of, the aspect of being able to weed through it and not necessarily relying on a bottle though. And if someone's diet, to your point, if someone's diet is on point, and yes, they can end up and forego those supplements, but that diet for them has to be individualized. And that is where everyone is trying to textbook a diet or
Boom.
textbook an approach, and they're not looking at the individual. Um,
Right.
that's just the way it is, right? It
Mm.
has to end up and be very diverse. Um, Bioavailability to supplements is questionable too. Yes.
Yes.
Um, and it is. But uh
Well, so I'll go back to what I was saying that the the D3 that I took from my parents' house and brought it home and forgot about it. And when I went to throw stuff out, the first ingredient was dextrose. And if nobody knows what that is, that's sugar. That's another name for sugar. And somebody like me, had I not done a deep dive like I have, and I'm still building a little ebook about the different names of sugars and how to read labels, and it's just a beginner guide that I'm working on. But I've been diving deep now for the whole 2.5, closing in on 3 years that I have been on this healing journey of even knowing what's in my food. Well, that transfers over to supplements as well.
mhm, absolutely. And speaking of, so the supplements, like I said, I'm not against supplements. I end up and I take my electrolytes. Electrolytes are important. The thing with that, I don't do packets uh electrolytes. So in the morning, I create the electrolyte mix in ratios that work for me in regards of my activity level, my sweating level, my environmental level, right? Because
Yep.
someone that is in a drier climate may end up and need more. Someone that is sweating may end up and need more. So my electrolytes work for me. That's why I have clients that will end up and ask, what is your electrolyte mix? Well, it's what works for me, right? It's
Hmm.
what I have figured out. And I know we were on the phone earlier today when I was doing math.
We were doing math. It was, well, we were converting grams and teaspoons and tablespoons, and
Yeah.
because I don't. So when I had to stop taking the packet electrolytes because there was too much sodium and it literally, it would, my hands would swell. Like my rings would get tight. Like it was too much for me. And so I had to find something that had higher potassium, a bit lower on the sodium, not, and I do sodium, and magnesium. And so you can kind of go down that little rabbit hole of your math. I was sitting on the phone going, y'all lost me on that one.
Well, so the math was trying to figure out,
Mm-hmm.
if you end up and you have that, we'll just say a quarter teaspoon of potassium that you're incorporating and it's X amount of milligrams. Okay. But if you're making a batch, then, how many? So basically it was just doing the math to get it also converted out of like a fourth of a teaspoon into a tablespoon. So everything was consistent. And yeah, that's essentially my math.
That's
And
essentially what we were doing.
but to answer also the question that is over on Instagram, do you have your little black box? So the question was, I am curious to understand the application of Shilajit. I consume a mostly carnivore diet and I feel I get all the essential nutrients from that. Plants often give me fits. Ultimately, my question is, how does Shilajit differ from plants, being that they both come from the ground? So Shilajit is basically the fermented resin or decomposed aspect of the plants created into a resin that carries the 84 trace minerals of that. The reason why I specifically use Symbioticas or Symbioticas, however you want to end up and pronounce the companies,
Mm-hmm.
is they have done the testing to make sure, there you can end up and see it's like a tar-like resin. They have done the testing to make sure there's no heavy metals in it. A lot of Shilajits out on the market can end up and contain those heavy metals. Symbiotica does the testing of it to make sure that it is not containing those, but it also has the fulvic and the humic acid to it. What I do with that resin is I put a little bit in hot water, or on the measuring spoon that comes with it. Oh, I end up and I have my box, but I don't think I have the measuring spoon that is with it.
Oh, I have the measuring spoon in here.
So it's just a little piece of metal that, yeah. And the little container looks small, but you literally only use like the tip of this measuring spoon. And then you end up and you put it on the side of a cup, you pour hot water in it, and it creates this replacement for, a morning hydration replacement of minerals into the body.
Yes.
Again, like I said, it's 84 different trace minerals that you are getting in this resin. So,
Oh, and it's also been shown to improve memory, focus, let's see, overall brain function. It contains antioxidants. Did you say that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, so how does that end up and differ when plants end up and give you the fifth? Typically, it is the fiber that is in the plants. This is just a resin. It's all been like fermented, if you will, right? Decomposed down.
Yeah.
It's not going to give you typically the same issues as what plants do. When I spent my 2.5 years as carnivore, Shilajit was one of the things that I started even back in that period where I was incorporating it. Now that I've
Right.
done a little bit more in the quantum, space, in the biology space, and how our bodies run on these minerals and the charge that our body holds with these minerals, that is where, I kind of look at it a little bit different than just another supplement. And that's why I have still continued to keep it in. I don't necessarily look at it as a capsule form supplement.
Right.
Nor is it giving you false hope. And I say that lightly, but not. False hope that some of these pills and potions and drinks that are coming around social media right now can end up and lead to. I've had people that start it, I've had people that stop it, and they don't have a negative side effect. It is not an addictive supplement. And it is not something that is going to cause you any, rebounding effect, right? That is the biggest thing that I see with some of these, you know, potions. I'm choosing my words wisely. Some of these
Right.
snake oils, as far as what my Instagram folks over there are saying, um, that it ends up and it can cause that rebound effect and
Well,
leads to false hope.
somebody on my Instagram said that, you know, I know you take it in hot water, the Shilajit. Saw somewhere it needs to be used with fat for absorption. I've not, I don't, and I haven't heard that. Have you?
So any of your minerals, it's going to end up and depend on your minerals. The vitamins specifically that I've heard more towards, taking them with a fatty meal is your fat soluble vitamins. If you also have, we'll just say, if someone was, again, I'm not for supplements, right? But if someone was getting your fat soluble vitamins, then that's where I would end up and put it with fatty meal. But if you're consuming the fat, which is also the deuterium depleted, a lot of your supplements are also going to come with deuterium, which is a whole nother topic of conversation. But it's just going to if you can get whole food, if you can eat a diverse diet, and to answer the question, is food at the grocery store nutrient dense enough versus the amount of calories someone has consumed to cover all the nutrient requirements? If you are shopping in season and you are shopping, I would shop in season or eat in season. Because there's a difference in the code that we are giving our digestive system and the code that we are getting through our light and our skin, or our eyes and our skin. And so if you are consuming, we'll just say, I'll take myself as an example. If I was consuming a banana in the middle of Nebraska and it's 20 some degrees outside right now and it's snowing, that's going to be a misalignment with the digestive system. It could potentially cause digestive issues, and my blood sugar is going to end up in skyrocket, right? But if
Right.
I end up and I'm consuming more of like the fermented spring greens, we have had weather in the 70s. It's just our mother nature is slightly off of her rocker right now, because it's 23 degrees and it's snowing, and it was literally just like 70 the other day. So but normally spring greens, asparagus, things that are starting to come in season. Now, what I eat in March and April is going to be different than what I eat in October, November. So there is that seasonal component. Yes, I am working on a lunar bite program to kind of go over all of this. But the food that you necessarily get at the grocery store is not going to be the same. But if that is the best, I was just on a coaching call earlier today in regard to this. If the food that you get at the grocery store is whole food and that's the best that you can do right now, that's going to be better than going to the aisles and getting the box food that is full of a bunch of sugar and seed oils and a bunch of crap, right?
Right.
So, welcome Facebook user. I'm not sure who you are, but it says first time seeing you live, so welcome.
Welcome.
But it's going to be better, right? Same thing goes for the meat. If the meat that you can get at the grocery store is the best meat that you can afford and put it in your pocket, oh, welcome, Eileen. Then that is better than not eating meat at all. Is it as good as, maybe the grass-fed grain finish, grass-fed grass finish? That's where many people end up and get overwhelmed as well.
Right.
Is because everyone, thinks that it has to be all organic,
Right.
wild caught, grass-fed, grass finished, and that's
Yeah,
not sustainable for a lot of people in today's world.
absolutely. And you and I talk about good, better, best all the
Mhm.
time. When I injured my knee, it's been about a month ago now, when we were in the middle of packing our house up to move, I literally went to step out of my front door And I didn't do anything but step down, and my knee, literally, I heard a crunch sound, and I about went down on the ground. And try packing a house with a bum knee. But one of the things I knew to do was to have red light on it. But the problem
Mhm.
is I'm in the middle of a move. I certainly cannot order a couple $100 red light panel. To, it wouldn't even get to me in time, let alone, um, and money was a factor, right? We had the expense of the movers, so forth and so on. So money was a factor for me. And so I ended up getting the good of the good, better, best, and use that red light. Now, it doesn't have a flicker rate, right? But it was better than nothing. But I also incorporated a lot of other natural healing aspects to my knee that helped heal it. And literally, I think it took me about 3.5 weeks, and I was fine. But let me tell you, that's where a supplement per se, but I was actually using some homeopathy techniques as well as some essential oils and things like that, that I knew that it would help my body heal itself, right? It wasn't that. And, and I can't tell you how many people told me, did you go to the doctor? No. Well, you need to go to the doctor. Why? Well, because they can x-ray it. Okay. And what are they going to tell me? Ice it, stay off of it, and oh, maybe we'll give you a steroid shot. Well, I'm going to heal it. And you did the same thing. Has it been almost a year ago? You hurt your knee.
It was almost a year, yeah, because it was my son's graduation, we were redoing the living room, fell off a ladder, my knee. I have the red light, I have the little red light panel, which is currently sitting at my feet, and I don't turn it on because it'd be really red, and I, would look like some, ghost story type person, but I do end up and have the EMR, which kinda goes to one of the questions over on, uh, Instagram in regards, and I see your comment, James. I won't even show my cupboard because the anti supplementers may end up at combust. Trust me, I had a bunch of supplements. I just happened to get rid of them recently. Um, can I talk about the red light? Yeah, I'll end up and I'll pick it back up off the floor. But so Candy ended up and asked, I believe you don't take anything for your hypothyroid, wondering if you had your adrenals tested and if you have taken anything for your adrenals. So my biggest thing, and that's where we end up when we talk about this biohacking. The biggest thing that I had to do for my adrenals, and to answer your question, yes, I have done the testing. Um, the biggest thing that I had to do for my hypothyroid for the adrenals, because remember, not only did I have the hypothyroidism, but I also ended up and had the complete hysterectomy on top of it. And we know there's a lot of evidence out there that the adrenals can end up and also take over and help to make the sex hormones after, someone is through menopause, or, someone like myself that had a complete hysterectomy at 29. That's also the reason why I'm not on HRT at, my age, having a hysterectomy over 13 years ago, um, and never to do the HRT because it makes me sick. So what I did for my thyroid is I used my red light. It was my, I was looking for a box to set it on. Um, but I'll just end up and I'll talk about how I used it. So I used my red light, I kicked it on, and it was sitting on a box. We'll we'll figure out how to set y'all up here because I was not
Yeah.
attempting to do a demonstration tonight. But anyway, So I had it setting to where you can see it's shining at my thyroid. One of the biggest things that I worked on was I worked on optimizing my sleep. I worked on getting up for sunrise and doing the grounding. And that was my non-negotiables. It still is my non-negotiables. But the other thing that I did was I used the red light shining at my throat while I ate that meal at sunrise. I did not do fasting. Fasting ends up and taxes your adrenals. It will end up and cause them, more fatigue, more adrenal fatigue, more stress. I ate 3 meals a day. I opened my circadian eating window to eating at sunrise, eating before the sun set, and I ended up and I utilized my red light. The other thing that I did was not only seeing light throughout the day, but I ended up utilizing and being very consistent with uh, parasympathetic work. So doing breath work, doing meditation, doing the tapping, anything that was going to help to calm those adrenals. Really, really, it was free, right? It wasn't necessarily a supplement. It wasn't an adrenal cortex. It wasn't an adrenal whatever, cocktail. It was just the basic things. I got up and I did my 4 times of light throughout the day. I made sure I was in bed within about, half hour to an hour. Now, yes, life occasionally would get in the way. I do have kids. Also, right. I,
Yeah.
I do have kids. So sometimes
Yeah. Teenager.
yeah. So sometimes they're, up for functions and whatever else. But that's why I became so passionate, and we ultimately created the Beyond Nutrition community, because all of these areas that we end up when we talk about, it's not about, buying this red light box that's sitting on my knee, right?
Right.
Because as much as if you do want, an EMR tech, shameless plug, if you do want an EMR tech, there is a link in my bio with a discount code that you can be more than welcome to get the red light. Midwest has one too. EMR Tech is called the Firewave. Midwest is called the Game Changer. Either one, they're both about the same.
Now, if you can't afford that, Becky, what do you recommend?
Getting that sunlight.
Yeah.
So when you end up and you get the sunrise and the sunset, it is predominantly infrared light. So if you can end up getting out there in the sunrise, seeing UVA as well. There's a lot of the signals that are happening in that UVA rise, which is when the sun is between 10 and 30 degrees. If you can get out and see that, that also will help with like the serotonin, the dopamine, your thyroid conversion. There's just a lot in regards of the amino acid precursors, in regards of the hormones that the body ends up and makes, but it needs the circadian signal to shift it. So
Correct.
it's free though, right?
It's
Simply
free.
just, if you can't get outside, opening a window. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be, the sun doesn't have to be hitting you directly, in the face. If you can't get outside, open the window. If it's not even facing that direction, the light is bouncing off the atmosphere. The light is going to end up and be beneficial. So say that the sun is rising in the east and you have a south facing window or you have a north facing window. If that's the best that you can do is simply getting to that window. I was on a phone meeting a little bit ago with Gal, and she's like, the best I can do is my bathroom window in the morning. That's fine. That is
Right.
perfectly fine as a place to start. So,
We were driving yesterday afternoon and we had our windows cracked driving and no sunglasses. So I knew that I was getting that light code as we drove the 45 minutes to where we were going. So that was free. I mean, I was
exactly.
getting that as we drove. So crack your window. It doesn't have to even be, don't roll it all the way down and freeze, like literally, like crack it. And I've seen you do that, Becky, where you've had to go to like the airport and you're driving and you cracked your window and drove that
Yep.
way.
Yep. Cracking the window, opening the sunroof, I'll end up and I'll be doing that when I head to Austin, right? Because
Yeah.
I'll have to be at the airport. The other biggest thing, you can obviously see I'm sitting in red light, right? That is simply my red light bulb, the blue blockers. If you can't, then simply end up and, shutting your light off. Being in the dark, embracing the dark, because many people are kicking on a bunch of artificial lights and they're predominantly blue lights. And that will also end up and create, knocking things off my table, will create a dysfunction as well. So
Right.
again, blue blockers can be expensive. Blue blockers can be inexpensive. Midwest has some. EMR Tech has some. These happen to be the Viva Rays. These are what I travel with because they're 3-in-1. I know you have blue blockers as well.
I have,
Um,
I have the blue
but
blockers. These are Midwest. That let's see right here. Let me grab my. So it's Midwest. Is who I ordered them from, and because I don't have a filter on my laptop right now that we're talking on, I'm using the clear blockers. My other ones, I believe, are in the bedroom. But I also have the red lens. Now, this is the one that I will wear about 30 minutes to an hour before I go to bed. This guy here was the biggest game changer for $35. The first time I got them, I put them on. I felt my natural melatonin kick in. I was tired, like exhausted, like, oh my goodness. And normally my mind's running at 100 miles an hour and I can't shut down. But, you know, again, the sunset, I mean, let's talk about getting the sunset instead.
which is one of the comments that just came in. Getting that
Right.
sunset light really helped me with sleep, and to start, she wasn't consistent. But being consistent, right? The more that you can end up and be consistent, and yes, Candy, your salt lamp on is fine as well. I end up and I have a salt lamp downstairs. I have a salt lamp with a red bulb in it in my bathroom. That's what I end up and I get ready with first thing in the morning. But if you can see the sunrise, the UVA, midday light, that's what's going to help create that vitamin D, right? That natural hormone. They call it vitamin D. It's actually, a hormone. But getting that midday light to help support and boost that now is the optimal time, because if you can boost it now, it's going to help you come next winter. The more that you are able to be consistent with getting that vitamin D window light in now, where did Sherry get those red glasses again? I mean, that
I'm
is
grabbing the link. Becky,
Midwest,
go ahead and keep
and
talking.
there's a code.
Yeah.
But if you can end up and then see the sunset and then start to block any blue light, right? Maybe that means putting red lights in your house. Maybe that means getting a non-scented, nice candle. Maybe that means a kerosene lamp. Maybe that just means embracing the darkness. That's okay too. But if you can't, then something, like the blue blockers can be beneficial. My husband asked me the other day, why are you always in the dark when you're getting ready? I get up in the morning. Usually I'm up somewhere about 5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere in there most mornings. My house is dark, other than I do have some red light and I have my salt lamp. I get ready with the red bulb salt lamp. I get my red night lights from Midwest. And
Oh,
yeah,
so I got both our codes I put in the chat. So you can go to Midwest. Um,
MidwestRedLightTherapy.com.
yeah. And then you can use either Healing 10 or Niles 10. That will get you a discount off of that. I'm sorry, this is much more affordable to me than some of the ones that are hundreds of dollars, right? Um, My husband probably wouldn't appreciate me spending that kind of money on that. But um again, good, better, best, right? But these are good. These are better. These are best. Like these work. Going out and getting the um like you said, the sunset, which I'm missing right now because we're on the call, but that's all right. But I'll get it this week. And
Crack your window. That's the
yeah,
biggest thing for people that sit in an office. Simply, where's my window?
there
There's my
we
window.
go.
Cracking the window behind you. Uh, just a little. If you think of blocks, think of like center blocks together, right? If they don't have like the compound, and no, I am not a bricklayer, but if they are just the bricks, together, or there's a little bit of a crack in a brick, that light gets through, right? The same thing is going to happen with a window. If you just simply have a window cracked, that light is going to get through. It is going to end up and be beneficial. You do not have to open it all the way, um, but you just have to end up and be exposed. Now, the only aspect of the day where that would not be beneficial is to actually get that light. There is benefit in getting like the UVA light and the UVB on the skin. Um, but so it's not just a circadian signal through the eyes, but the light in the dark, and then also the grounding. There's a lot. Grounding is very underutilized by many people, and it's got so many therapeutic benefits when it comes to inflammation, sleep, the energy of the body, the um, exclusion zone water of the body, and how we end up when we carry those minerals, right? So we talked about Shilajit earlier, and carrying these minerals and just carrying that hydration into that cellular water.
Well, and don't forget too that chronic stress has a significant impact as well. And that's where that meditation, the deep breathing exercises, yoga, maybe in your daily routine. Now, don't go crazy with exercise and things like that because that is a stressor too. So you need to manage your chronic stress levels. Um, get outside and just walk. Um, you know, every time I get outside and I walk around, I just feel better, right? The benefits for my mental and physical health. It's just crazy how a few minutes of fresh air just changes my mood. Um, and then, of course, building a strong support network. That has been the biggest key to my healing journey. And I believe yours as well, Becky.
Yeah, when you end up and connect with community and find your tribe, um, again, that's one of the reasons why I created a community, right? Is to bring people together of like-minded, but not in a dogmatic way. We created an inclusive community where maybe some people are, eating one way, some people are eating another way, but nutrition isn't the dietary camp. I'll put it that way. Nutrition is a focus because you can't outground and out circadian a bad diet, right?
Right.
But vice versa. You can't have the optimal diet and not be working on your light and your circadian and your sleep and all of that. They have to be intertwined together. And many people are speaking in regards to nutrition, but they're leaving out the light. And there are, a little bit of both on each side, right? They're not fully incorporating it. And that's where we brought it all together into these steps into this community where maybe you need support in one area, maybe you need support in another, and you're more than welcome. Love you too, Candy. And there's just these little bit of information or wisdom that you end up and you need from some of us that have been doing it, you know, a little bit longer, right? I was not at this point 3 years ago. And that
Right.
is the biggest thing in the journey is we all start somewhere. And many people lose that sight of where they were when they ended up and started.
Right.
And they think that everyone needs to be at this top notch, top level, and
No.
getting, all of it, right? And
Right.
that was one of the things that I posted specifically on my Facebook page this weekend, was in regards of just realizing that it's a journey, realizing that it takes consistent steps, consistent preparation, it takes consistent work. Um, this
Right.
journey for me has been 8 years now. Um, Probably more than that, actually. It would have been 2017 when I first started meal prepping, and I was just doing it for myself and a friend. I had a friend that wanted to start eating healthy, and she had asked, would you be willing to help me? And that's where it started. Who would have thought, that it had flourished into what we have today? But we still also don't end up and forget that person just starting out. We don't forget that
Absolutely.
person on their step one,
Right.
and creating, a community that was founded on the support of people reversing not only their metabolic conditions, but finding people, finding a
Yeah.
tribe, finding community, um, and just bringing that whole thing together, and the possibilities when we end up. I mean, we're gearing up to do our first meetup as a community in Austin this year.
Mhm.
Who would have thought that even just 1 year after starting our community, that we would have a meetup where we can actually get together and see people, live, give them hugs, just support and be there,
Right.
kind of, where we left off, I guess.
Mhm. Well, again, going back to the community, first of all, it's $18 a month to join the BNC community. That's it. It is not hundreds of dollars, right? And when you come in, we're not going to sell you or make you take a bazillion supplements and, oh, be dogmatic about you have to eat this certain way. We have, like Becky said, every walks of the journey of people eating differently. I personally have to eat different than Becky eats, right? Because of my type 2 diabetes. Um, I'm not metabolically flexible enough to eat some of the things that she eats. But nobody says, "Oh, Sherry, poo poo on you," right? Like we're not doing that in there. We come alongside of you and we help you hone what you need to hone, but we also teach you the beyonds, right? And I think that's where it's our passion that we truly want to help people. And that's why it's so affordable because, you know, we've been in other groups that, if you don't eat, for example, I'll use a hardcore carnivore, right? And oh, you ate an avocado and everybody attacks you because you had an avocado and you're supposed to be carnivore. And so that's not what you get, right? It's, we understand that we're all in a different walk and we just want to help enhance that. Um, you know, Hearing us talk about getting sleep and getting sunrise and blah, blah, blah. I remember the first time, literally heard the first time of Becky talk about this almost 2 years ago. And I remember thinking, sister, I am not getting up at the crack of dawn to go outside to get that sunrise, right? That ain't happening. I need my sleep. I don't know what you're talking about. But the more she talked about it, the more I was listening. And so I started setting my alarm literally 5 minutes earlier. Well, 5 minutes isn't that big of a deal. And I still got out there. When I got up, well, sunrise was already up. And so I still went out and got natural light. So I was still getting some benefit. Um, Guess what happens now? Now I intuitively wake up before sunrise and My body knows it needs to see that. But that was months and months of working on that to get to that point. Um, and so don't feel like anything that we've said here tonight that you're like, oh my goodness, that's too much. I can't. Um, Join us in the community. Let us give you those little tips and tricks on how to optimize the free,
Yeah.
um, right? The free, as we call it, or we don't call it, they call it biohacking, right?
Yeah.
Becky and I don't like that word, but um it's just made a huge difference in my life personally, Becky's life. We have other community members that it's made. We're getting I oh Becky, you're getting ready to on the April 6th.
Yep, I will be taking another cohort through the Fat Fast Masterclass. So I will be doing a masterclass. It'll probably be anywhere 60 to 90 minutes. We'll have time for Q&A. But we'll also have 4 follow-ups after the masterclass, and not after the masterclass. So it'll be 4 weeks consecutive following the masterclass where we'll meet. We'll do, group question. We'll do fat fasting together, that type of thing. How did you feel? How was, um, what should you eat, right? That's one of the biggest things. People over on Instagram, you've seen my posts in regards to fat fasting, and I've had a lot of questions in regards of what it is. If you do have questions over either platform, I see some coming in here on Facebook or YouTube. But Instagram, if you have any questions, feel free. But with that being said, I will take people through the hows, the who, the what, how to do it, the different tiers of it. I have 4 different tiers that I put together in regards of the fat fasting. You will also get the macro journal that Sherry created, and that'll help you to, allot your day, kind of focus on some of these biohack intuitive steps, that we have talked about. And if you do join us for that, you can sign up. Sherry's sharing the link. But also if you use code SPRING, that will end up and save you as well off of that Fat Masterclass. So Instagram, I can put a link in my link tree for you. But otherwise, if you just go to beyondnutrition.mykajabi.com, and then you'll see a tab that says our courses. It's under there. You'll be able to find it there too. But yeah, I'm excited for it because fasting, we kind of talked about some of these hormetic stressors, and fasting is one of them, right? Where many people end up get a rebound effect of doing fasting, and they feel sluggish. They end up gaining weight. Their glucose goes up. It's more of a stressor, and the cortisol side of it. Where when we take people through the fat fast, that helps to calm that cortisol. It helps them to. I spoke to a couple gals that have shifted their macros or shifted and added a little bit more fat, and they've actually started to gain or gain more energy, and they're losing weight. We have,
Yep.
I mean, you've done it, I've done it. We've lost weight.
Yep.
We've been able to shift weight, right? I'm somewhere more now that, I'm pretty consistent with my weight. And even by incorporating some of the fat fast days, I'm able to kind of shift that. I can push beyond just the maintenance of where, I typically am staying right now. We've had others in the BNC community that have gone through it. They've lost weight. One gal said 13 pounds. Another one went from a size 9 to a size 4. So, I mean, it definitely does help on the weight loss side of it, but it is so much more than just for weight loss.
Well, and
And
we even had some type 1 diabetics that benefited from the fat fasting as well.
mhm.
And their doctors were actually pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, just by adding that in there, type 1, type 2s,
Yep.
obviously not medical professionals, but it has helped many through it. So like I said, if that's something you're interested in, I will end up and be doing it. We will have giveaways as well. Those announcements will be coming up here shortly, but we will have giveaways for any of the participants that do the Fat Fast Masterclass. Do we need to buy food in advance before the masterclass? No, not necessarily. So a lot of the food, because I also know who posted that comment. So for you over on Instagram that can't see the YouTube comment, do we need to buy food in advance? No, typically a lot of the food is food that you have. There may be certain products again that can ease your process or convenience, but it is not a requirement. Like I said, many of the foods are typically foods that you probably already have in your house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, some of the products that kept me eating higher fat while we were in the middle of the move was out of sheer convenience, right? I packed up my whole kitchen and I couldn't cook. So I had to rely on some of those products. Or if I travel, I rely on some of those products. But, again, you have the stuff but during the fat fasting class, you will learn, what, and there's different levels of it depending on your metabolic state. And Becky goes through all of that. And so hopefully I've seen somebody over on my Facebook said I believe it was my Facebook or no, it was my Instagram said they signed up already.
yay.
So yay. So
Yeah,
we're excited. And again, you get um, my macro and healing journal free with that. Or you can purchase it outright as well. If you go to bnc.com, bncommunity.com, you can purchase that outright. But you might as well do the fat fast and get it for free. And anyway. But hopefully that gives people pause to think about how many supplements, pills, and potions that you have added because somebody said to on social media. And I think that was where we wanted to bring awareness that, how much money are you spending? Maybe you can afford it. Is it worth it? I'm already in the winter. I take D3 and K2. But now, because I've been getting so much sun and the UV of a 6 and 7 during the day, then I'm backing way off of that to stop. So I'm not going to continue taking that. And there was a time where I had my levels checked, Becky, and my D3 was pretty through the roof. So, testing and knowing where your levels are at combined with these pills, potions, and supplements, we suggest highly that you do that as well.
absolutely. Yeah, because again, if you don't know, you could end up and be just creating expensive pee, right?
Right.
Because many of these are just going to end up and be flushed through your system. They're not going to end up and be beneficial, and it's just going to end up and create expensive urine,
Yeah.
right? Or expensive poop if your body isn't actually going to break it down, and it's just going to rid itself of it. Um, but yes, it was lovely. I know we're at our hour for the night. If you guys have any topics that you would like us to discuss, obviously we go live every Monday. Sometimes we end up when we have a guest that comes on. We have several guests in the works. But if you're watching this and you have any suggestions of someone you want us to interview, shoot them our way. You can comment on this YouTube video, or if you're over on Instagram, you can always shoot me a DM or comment below. Send me a message if there's anything. I'll also be putting up, a Q&A box. So when we do these lives, that is something. And yes, Sherry's just sharing, if you want, to grab some BNC swag, like I said, there's these shirts. They come in 5 different colors: white, gray, sage, blue, and a pink. Or I will be posting soon the mugs and uh, the other t-shirt that has actually this logo on it instead of the one we're wearing. But yeah, like I said, I'll put up a Q&A box so that when we do go live on Mondays, we can also answer questions. But
Absolutely. Well, thank you. It was hopefully everyone enjoyed the chat, and we'll be back next week. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us feedback on all the platforms that you're listening to us. We do greatly appreciate that. And have a great rest of your night, Becky.
awesome. You too. Have